In retrospect, it's pretty amazing that Barack Obama got as far as he did. He was totally unheard of. No one knew Barack Obama at the time.
Have you ever seen Tucker Carlson completely speechless? It's rare, but this time something about Obama left him utterly shocked. A secret so big, so controversial that even Carlson couldn't hide his reaction. But what exactly did he uncover? And why does it change everything we thought we knew? Back then, politics was all about maintaining a perfect public image, but behind closed doors, secrets ran deep. The truth wasn't just hidden, it was carefully managed. If something controversial ever got out, the damage control would kick in immediately, making sure the public never knew what was really happening. For years, Barack Obama has been praised as one of the most charismatic and influential leaders of our time. He's been seen as a symbol of hope, progress, and integrity. But what if there's a side to his story that the world was never meant to see? What if some carefully concealed truths are finally coming to light? Tucker Carlson, one of the most outspoken voices in media, recently uncovered something so shocking that it left him completely speechless. His latest discovery doesn't just raise questions, it shakes the very foundation of what people thought they knew about Obama. But what exactly did Carlson find? And why is it sending shockwaves through political circles? Stay with me, because once you hear this, you'll never look at Obama the same way again. Tucker Carlson had built a career on being unshakable. No matter how controversial the topic, he always had a response, always controlled the conversation. But this time, something was different. For the first time, he was caught off guard. It happened live. Millions were watching. Carlson, known for his sharp takes and quick rebuttals, hesitated. It wasn't just a brief pause. It was a moment of real shock. His face tensed, his usual confidence flickered, and for a fraction of a second, he looked like he had no idea what to say next. For someone like Carlson, that silence spoke louder than any words. The discussion had started as expected. Bold claims, heated arguments, the kind of television that kept his audience hooked. But then, something was said that changed everything. A revelation so unexpected, so disruptive, that it shook the foundation of the conversation. Carlson's first reaction wasn't immediate outrage or instant dismissal. It was something more telling, genuine disbelief. His eyes narrowed, his lips pressed together, and he sat back slightly, as if needing a moment to absorb what had just been said. He wasn't just hearing it, he was processing it. Then came the shift. A deep breath, a glance to the side, an attempt to recover. But it wasn't smooth. Something in his voice changed, subtle but noticeable. It wasn't the usual confidence. It wasn't the usual certainty. It was the sound of someone trying to regain control of a moment that had already slipped away. And the audience noticed. Within minutes, social media exploded. Clips of his reaction flooded timelines. Screenshots captured the exact second his expression changed. Viewers slowed the footage down, analyzing every detail. The hesitation, the micro-expressions, the barely perceptible movements, all of it dissected in real time. Some said it was nothing, just a natural reaction to a surprising claim. But others weren't convinced. They had seen Carlson handle shocking moments before. They had seen him push back, challenge narratives, demand answers. This was different. This was the first time he looked like he didn't have one. Mainstream media picked up the moment instantly. Analysts debated what it meant. Conservative circles were split. Some defended him, saying he was simply gathering his thoughts. Others suggested it was something more, a realization, a crack in the foundation of what he believed. It wasn't just about what was said, it was about who reacted to it. Carlson wasn't just any commentator. He was the one who called out hypocrisy, who exposed hidden truths, who never backed down. If something made him hesitate, even for a second, it had to be big. And that's what made this moment different. People started asking questions. Had Carlson just witnessed something undeniable? Had he just heard something so shocking that even he couldn't refute it? Was this the moment that shifted everything? The speculation wasn't just about him, it was about what this meant for his audience. The people who trusted him, who relied on him to break down the truth, were now breaking down his reaction. The conversation moved beyond just his moment of shock. The real question became, did this revelation change him? Carlson had been vocal about his views for years. He had shaped narratives, built arguments, stood firm in his beliefs. But now the internet was buzzing with a new idea. Was he rethinking everything? Some thought this was the beginning of a shift. A moment that would lead to bigger questions, deeper analysis, maybe even a reconsideration of past claims. Others believed he would double down, fight back harder than ever, and dismiss the moment as overblown. Either way, the reaction was impossible to ignore. This wasn't just another segment. It wasn't just another heated debate. It was a turning point. Carlson's audience wasn't just watching a broadcast. They were watching a moment of real, undeniable human reaction. But was this just a brief misstep, or did it mark something bigger? The next moment would answer that question. For years, rumors swirled, whispers in political circles, cryptic comments in interviews, old claims resurfacing now and then. But nothing ever stuck. Nothing ever had enough weight to shake the foundation. Until now. This time it wasn't just speculation. It was a bombshell. A claim so controversial, so explosive, that it sent shockwaves through every corner of the political world. And the fact that it landed right in front of Tucker Carlson? That changed everything. The source? A figure with enough credibility to make it impossible to ignore. Someone who wasn't just repeating old gossip, but presenting something new, something that demanded attention. The details were jaw-dropping. The kind of revelation that could rewrite narratives, shift perspectives, and force even the most loyal supporters to rethink everything they believed. At first, it didn't seem real, too big, too bold. But as the story unfolded, as more pieces came together, it became clear. This wasn't just another conspiracy theory floating around the internet. This had substance. And the timing? It couldn't have been more perfect. With political tensions already at an all-time high, this revelation hit like a wrecking ball. It didn't just challenge Obama's legacy, it called into question everything people thought they knew about him. The origins of this claim traced back years, buried beneath layers of deflection and dismissal. Whispers in obscure interviews, hints in long-forgotten reports, moments in history that had been overlooked until now. For those who had followed Obama's career from the beginning, there was a strange familiarity to it, a sense that this wasn't entirely new, that maybe, just maybe, the signs had been there all along. But this time, it was different. This time, there was no ignoring it. The internet erupted. Social media feeds were flooded with reactions, some in complete disbelief, others convinced this was the missing puzzle piece they had been waiting for. News outlets scrambled to get ahead of the story. Some dismissed it instantly, calling it baseless. Others leaned in, dissecting every detail, trying to separate fact from fiction. And through it all, one question remained. How had this stayed hidden for so long? This wasn't just about Obama anymore. It was about the bigger picture. The systems in place, the forces that controlled narratives, the power structures that decided what the public was allowed to know. If this was true, if even a fraction of it was true, what else had been kept in the shadows? Carlson wasn't the only one caught off guard. Political insiders scrambled to respond. Some brushed it off as a desperate attempt to rewrite history. Others saw it as the beginning of something much bigger, a moment that could set off a chain reaction. But no matter where people stood, one thing was certain. The floodgates had been opened. This wasn't going away. And if the truth had been buried for this long, what else was still hidden beneath the surface? The next revelation might be even bigger. Obama's rise to power was swift, calculated, and for many inspiring. But looking back, were there clues all along? Signs that something was being carefully managed, hidden, or even erased? For years, his image was spotless. A fresh-faced senator from Illinois, a unifier, a symbol of hope. His past was packaged neatly, his upbringing, his education, his values. He was the American dream personified. But now, with this new revelation, people are asking, was it all an illusion? Obama's entry into politics wasn't just luck, it was strategic. He had the right endorsements, the right connections, and a story that resonated with millions. He wasn't just any politician, he was a movement, a brand, a phenomenon, and that doesn't happen by accident. But here's the thing, his past was always a little vague. His college years, shrouded in mystery. His time as a community organizer, light on details. Even his political rise seemed almost too smooth, as if someone was clearing the path ahead of him. Some questioned why certain records were sealed. Why were there so few classmates who remembered him? Why were parts of his early life left out of the narrative? At the time, these concerns were dismissed. Just partisan attacks. Just noise. But now, in light of this new controversy, they suddenly seem a lot more relevant. Because if this secret is real, then what else has been hidden? Every politician has mentors, advisors, and powerful backers. Obama was no different. But some of the names linked to him over the years? Let's just say they raise eyebrows. There were radical professors, shadowy donors, figures who operated behind the scenes, shaping his image and career, people who didn't just support him, they created him. And when someone is being built up that carefully, you have to ask, what's the real agenda? Then there's the question of who knew about this secret all along. Was it something whispered in elite circles? Were certain media figures aware but stayed silent? Did party leaders know but choose to look the other way? Because if this information is true, it's almost impossible that nobody in his inner circle knew, which means someone made sure it stayed buried. And if they could keep this hidden, what else have they covered up? This isn't the first time Obama's past has been questioned. Think back to the birth certificate controversy. At first, anyone who asked about it was labeled a conspiracy theorist. Then, years later, official documents had to be released to quiet the rumors. Even then, some people still had doubts, or the claims about his ties to questionable figures. People who were once close to him but suddenly vanished from public conversation. Associates who were quietly erased from the Obama story. And now, here we are again. Another claim, another controversy, another round of damage control. So the real question is this just another coincidence? Or is it a pattern? The mainstream media loved Obama. He was their golden boy, their historic candidate. He could do no wrong. And that's why certain stories never gained traction. Anyone who questioned his past was shut down. Anyone who tried to dig deeper was mocked or ignored. Even major networks refused to cover certain topics. Investigative journalists who would normally jump on a story like this, silent. But the internet changed everything. Social media, independent journalists, and alternative news sources made it impossible to silence these discussions forever. Because no matter how much control the mainstream media has, they can't stop people from asking questions. And they definitely can't stop the truth from resurfacing. Obama is known for being carefully scripted. Every speech, every statement, every interview, it's all measured, precise. But even the best narratives have cracks. Over the years, there have been inconsistencies in his life story. Things that didn't quite add up. Stories that changed slightly over time. Details that were conveniently forgotten. For example, early on, Obama downplayed his connections to certain controversial figures. Later, when evidence surfaced, he adjusted his statements. It was never outright denial, just small shifts, subtle contradictions. The kind that most people wouldn't notice unless they were really paying attention. And now, with this new revelation, those contradictions suddenly stand out even more. Because if this secret was hidden, what else has been rewritten? What else has been carefully shaped to fit a narrative? That's the question people are asking now. And no matter what happens next, Obama's legacy will never be the same. The media reaction was immediate, but not in the way you'd expect. Mainstream outlets scrambled, some ignored it, others dismissed it outright. They called it a conspiracy, a distraction, an attack with no merit. No deep dives, no investigations, just blanket denial. The major networks followed the same pattern. Short, dismissive segments that provided no real analysis. News anchors scoffed at the idea, labeling it a fringe theory pushed by bad faith actors. Editorial pieces mocked those who took it seriously, reinforcing the idea that it was nothing more than a political stunt. But alternative media? They had a field day. Independent journalists, podcasts, and social media pages latched on. The details were too explosive to ignore. Within hours, YouTube was flooded with deep-dive videos, TikTok was ablaze with speculation, and Twitter, now X, was an all-out battleground. Threads dissecting every detail of the revelation went viral. Even some former mainstream journalists, now working independently, weighed in, calling out the lack of curiosity from their former employers. People were divided. Some saw it as proof that the mainstream media hides the truth. Others weren't sure what to believe, but one thing was certain: the conversation wasn't going away. And that was a problem for the Democratic Party. Because if this was true, it wasn't just about Obama. It was about trust. If one of the most celebrated leaders in modern history had hidden something this big, what else had been covered up? Suddenly, old controversies were being re-examined. People started digging into past statements, policies, and decisions. Every inconsistency, every moment of secrecy was being put under a microscope. The timing couldn't have been worse. With elections on the horizon, the last thing the party needed was controversy. And yet, here it was. Tucker Carlson had made sure of that. For years, he'd been known for exposing hidden truths. Some loved him for it. Others called him a provocateur, but no one could deny his reach. When he spoke, people listened. And now, millions were questioning everything they thought they knew. His show dedicated multiple segments to the topic, bringing on analysts, former officials, and those who claimed to have inside knowledge. He didn't just present the story, he weaponized it. He framed it as the ultimate proof of media corruption, of government deceit, of a political class that had been lying to the American people for decades. But beyond the media firestorm, there were real implications. Could this lead to legal consequences? Probably not. Obama wasn't in office anymore, but ethically, the fallout was massive. His legacy was built on transparency and integrity. If this revelation shattered that image, history wouldn't be kind. Universities that once held him up as a symbol of progress now faced difficult questions. Political allies who had built their careers on his endorsement found themselves in an uncomfortable position. Even his most loyal defenders had to admit this was bad. The public response was telling. Twitter was flooded with debates. Facebook groups dissected every angle. YouTube videos racked up millions of views overnight. Live streams with independent commentators drew audiences that rivaled cable news. The public wasn't just consuming the information. They were engaging with it, discussing it, analyzing it in ways the mainstream media refused to. Some longtime supporters stood by him. They dismissed it as a smear campaign, a desperate attempt to tarnish a man who had already left the political stage. Others felt betrayed. The trust they had placed in him, in his story, in his integrity, it now felt misplaced. And those who had always been skeptical, they saw this as their "I told you so" moment. To them, this wasn't new. It was just another piece of the puzzle finally falling into place. But one thing was clear. Obama's name was now tied to controversy in a way it hadn't been before. And that wasn't all. Because if the media had covered this up, what else had they buried? People started questioning past reports, old scandals, even things they once believed were debunked. Suddenly, the conversations that had been dismissed as conspiracy theories didn't seem so far-fetched. The narrative had cracked, and once a crack forms, it only spreads. The trust in mainstream journalism took another hit, and in an era where faith in the media was already crumbling, this only made it worse. Newsrooms scrambled to control the damage, but it was too late. The more they ignored it, the more people believed they had something to hide. Then came the political fallout. Democrats were stuck. Ignoring it made them look complicit. Addressing it only gave it more attention. They were walking a tightrope, and every move was being scrutinized. Party strategists held emergency meetings. Internal memos were leaked, showing panic behind closed doors. Press conferences were tense, with reporters, especially from conservative outlets, demanding answers. Meanwhile, conservatives didn't hold back. They seized the moment, using it as proof of everything they'd been saying for years. They pointed at Obama, at the media, at the entire system. GOP leaders issued statements calling for investigations, for transparency, for accountability. Campaign ads were already being crafted, ready to use this controversy as a weapon in the upcoming elections. And just like that, the political landscape shifted. This wasn't just about one man anymore. It was about the credibility of an entire party, an entire movement. It raised questions about how much power the media had to control narratives, about what other truths had been buried, about the fundamental trust between the American people and their leaders. One revelation had opened the floodgates, and there was no closing them now. Thanks for watching. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content. Hit the bell icon to stay updated, and click on the next video popping up on your screen. See you next time.